Is the saving habit still that strong?
Because I knew I was going to come to meet you, I called my dad on the way here. Okay, and I told him that Papa, जब मैं LSE गई थी, so what kind of savings did you have? Like, रोज 8 बजे से 12 बजे तक, every day I used to be in office. So about 2 years ago, in July 2022, I learned that I needed a kidney transplant. You press C, it takes you to Mr. Tata's chambers. So I remember going to the lift and thinking, क्या मतलब anybody can go क्या? So Mr. Tata was having his lunch and he said,
Hello and welcome to Depend on Insurance, Depend on Us, where we bring you stories of strength, resilience and dependability. I am Rishi Mathur. I am the Chief Marketing Officer and the Chief Distribution Officer for alternate channels for Canara HSBC Life Insurance. Today I am excited to introduce a remarkable entrepreneur whom we have with us, and that's Swati Bhargava. Swati is the co-founder of CashKaro.com, which is actually India's largest cashback and coupon site. So Swati, it's a pleasure to have you here.
thank you so much. Likewise, thank you for spending the time and for this initiative, which is really commendable. Plus, I must say that your office is amazing. I'm enjoying the views. It's got a beautiful vibe, and I think you've got something great going here.
Right, I think it's all a function of the fact that we've just moved into our office a few months ago. And so we've been really lucky to have such a lovely office.
Among the best views in Gurgaon, for sure.
It's a lovely Saturday afternoon, so the office is a little empty, but once the weekday comes up, you will see the buzz and the vibe that goes on
It's
all
perfect.
around.
It's great.
So Swati, you're recognized as one of the top 10 women entrepreneurs in India. And you are the co-founder of CashKaro.com, which has rewarded customers with over 5,000 crores in cashback and coupons. And Mr. Ratan Tata himself is one of your investors. Oh, what an endorsement for your business. Coming back to the whole concept of CashKaro.com, right? Why do Indians have such a big love for cashback, savings, and all of that? And how did it become foundation of a business, of an entrepreneurial journey?
Well, let me take a step back and tell you a little bit more about where I come from, and I think hopefully that will answer some of the questions as well as we go along. So I grew up in a small town called Ambala, and Puran Singh ke dhabe ke ke naam se sab Ambala ko jante hain. But we grew up with a lot of love and community-like feeling in the city. And I think in India the savings concept is there as you grow up. Sabzi wale ke paas, you always ask for that extra dhania mirchi. You've grown up seeing that. So we have that. And then, after that, I got a scholarship to study in Singapore, then to London School of Economics. Then I worked in Goldman in London for 5 years, investment banking. So that's the time when Rohan and I, my husband, actually started seeing the concept of savings abroad as well. And people would use a cashback site, चाहे उनको 50 पैसे की saving होए या 50 pence या 5 pounds or 50 pounds. So the concept of savings is actually, we used to think it's very Indian, which it is, but it's actually global as well. People in the UK care as much about cashback. So that's when we started our business in the UK, expanded it to India, because we obviously felt the product market fit here would be good.
Right, but I think when the pandemic hit,
Yeah.
and after the pandemic, at least what we have seen is that a lot of people have started living in the present. It's like people have said that who's bothered about so much in the future, and why not live in the present, which then means that your savings are actually less, right? So that's become a cause of concern for some people like us. So what do you think about that? I think is the saving habit still that strong?
I think, living in the present is a good statement. It's a good phrase. But to me, it is about your state of mind and your general being. It doesn't actually apply to money. Because if we were not saving money, then all the things I've done in my life, all the things my parents have enabled me to do, wo kabhi hota hi nahi. So to me, living in the present is, yes, you don't need to be bothered about, so much worry unnecessarily. It's about not letting yourself get anxious. But to me, it does not apply to savings. Savings to karni hi chahiye. Otherwise, you're not actually planning for the future.
Yeah, I think that's an important message. I think that we do need to have the right amount of savings in our life, and that really helps.
I've been doing it since I was a child, so I believe in that fully.
Right. So Swati, you've had a really very interesting journey and some really impressive milestones all around that. So why don't you take us a step back in time and take us through what what it meant to kind of go from a small town to where you reached. So I think everybody would be really loving to listen about that.
Well, like I mentioned, growing up in Ambala was special. The exposure was not as much, but we were good, focused kids. I think a very grounded upbringing, if I can say so. Abroad education was something जो हमेशा मेरे mind में था, but I used to think कि admission मिलेगी कि नहीं, will we be able to afford or not. But my dad has always been prudent. So वो शुरू से ही उनके mind में ऐसा होता था कि like he used to save for our education. So जो आज का equivalent होगा of doing a child plan or education plan or something, he used to do that also 15-20 years ago, equivalents of that. And I think because of that, when I got admission in LSE, I got 80% scholarship. So my grandfather told him कि अब जैसे भी you figure out, you have to send her to London because she's managed to get admission LSE में जो मिलती नहीं है. I also got admission in Oxford, but they were not giving any scholarship at all. So LSE was a good name, 80% plus, trying to dip into my dad's savings. And of course, I also did part-time work. So that enabled me to go to college.
Yeah, and I think that's a lovely story because I think it brings out the fact, and you talked about, Oxford and the fact that you went to LSE and how it was important to have that kind of corpus, to have the kind of right planning for education. I know, getting a scholarship is an exceptional achievement, but not everybody, has that kind of.
है भी नहीं, to be honest.
And it is a rare thing. So therefore, for most of the people, it is very important to plan and think about child's education. So I think that's a great story because I think that actually brings us back to the fact that in order to be dependable, you need to really plan for education, and that's.
On my way here right now, because I knew I was going to come to meet you, I called my dad on the way here.
Oh.
Okay, and I told him that, Papa, जब मैं LSE गई थी, so what kind of savings did you have? Like, were you an active investor? Were you saving? What were you doing? Because you had somehow, the money which we needed at that time available. Because see, if he was investing
I'm sure
only
his first answer would be, I'm not telling you.
Yeah. No,
That's what dads do, right? They don't talk to
yeah.
their kids about what they've been doing. It's all happening in
That's
secret,
true.
right?
That is so true, actually.
Yeah,
They always make it look so easy,
Right,
and it's not been easy for them, but they make it look very easy. I think
Right,
that's
right.
why, parents are superheroes, right? Dads are superheroes, moms are angels. But today, those roles are actually both are playing those roles. Both parents are doing enough financial sacrifices as well. He said, I used to save actively. That's how I did it. So I got some notes.
So that was dad's child plan, right? Yeah.
Yes.
So I think that's an important point, and I think that's what really helps as you kind of
In
move.
fact, I also thought at that time that if his investment strategy would have been real estate only, he couldn't have helped me that much because the markets were not right to sell.
Right.
So what would he have done with that illiquid asset? So it's important to have that liquidity as well.
Yeah,
Something
and it's
that gives you
important to
liquidity.
keep that balance because
Yeah.
what happens is that at various points of time you will need the money,
Yeah.
and therefore it's important if you want to create a dependable corpus, you do need to make sure that there is enough liquid assets, and at the same point of time you do have things which will help you in the longer term as well. So I think it's all about thinking for the longer term. But what we've also seen is that, and we've done some research that says that while people have all these things on their mind,
Yeah.
it's very important to get into that planning and to actually start with it and not leave it for later. So I think you've been fortunate. I think that
Yes.
your parents supported, and I think it's imperative for everybody to actually do that.
For sure.
Yeah. So how did LSE then turn into another big name, Goldman
Yeah.
Sachs and investment banking? How
Yeah.
did that work for you?
So when I was in LSE, I didn't know कि मैं आगे क्या करना चाहती हूँ. But then investment banking sort of hits you from all sides. And I thought Goldman, is a good place to start, good brand name. I worked there for 5 years. I did investment banking, which was in the structured credit, fixed income space. रोज 8 बजे से 12 बजे तक. Every day I used to be in office. Those were my working hours, right? So after 4 years, I was like, like the body wants a break, the mind feels like I want to do something else. So, no, but Goldman said, no, just move teams, don't quit yet. So I moved teams. I worked with the CEOs of Goldman Europe actually for the last year that I was there, managing client engagements, high profile role. Good, learned a lot. But, and I think that also helped me because I was saving money while I was working at Goldman as well. So that gave me the initial corpus which we needed to start our business. And, after I got married, Rohan was always like in that entrepreneurship zone, ki apna business karna hai, karna hai. We used to keep thinking of ideas. And then when we saw cashback, we were like, we should do this in India. So we launched in UK. We actually did a fundraise from the UK. Our first round was through an angel investor, and then we did a friends and family round. We moved to India. We raised Series A from Kalari Capital, which was $4 million, close to four. Then Mr. Ratan Tata came on board as an investor. That was 2016. Then we raised our Series B from Korea Investment Partners, then Series C from Affle Global. So we've raised about 250 crores so far. So it's been a good journey.
But moving from corporate to entrepreneur is a big leap, right?
Yes.
It's a big change.
Leap
So
of faith,
it's a leap of
ideas,
faith,
and
right.
money.
Right,
Everything.
right. I know. What is that point in where you actually felt that
Yeah.
that okay, I have to now make the jump and I'm ready for it? And how much of it was actually the fact that you had a corpus or a saving to back you up on that front? Because I'm sure there is that point at which you decide that yes, I have to do it, but then something holds you back, and then at some point it clicks and then you move, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think Rohan and I used to thank our stars that, हमें शुरू से गुल्लक की आदत है, शुरू से, which becomes SIP as you grow up. But then वो सब आदतें थी because of which we could save some of our salary.
Okay.
And I think when we started the business, first I left my job. Then after some time, Rohan left his. So we gave each other some balance in the household. But after that, we both were dipping into our savings. And that initial period is when we used our savings to start our business. And then when we started getting our salary, then we started saving again. So if that initial corpus wasn't there, it would have been very difficult because even for an entrepreneur, ऐसा नहीं है कि आपका idea आता है और उसी दिन आपको funding मिल जाती है.
Right.
You need to show some traction in the business before an investor puts in money. And investors look for scale, for unit metrics, for team. To be able to show all that, you need some of your own savings to be put into it first. So कभी saving करी होगी तो ही उसको use कर पाएंगे, So that's what we used to say कि thank God we have this corpus.
So yeah, coming back to your journey, and you've got investment from one of the biggest and most well-known names in the Indian corporate world now, which is Mr. Ratan Tata. So, so tell us all about that. I'm sure it must be a very interesting, kind of snippet where how did you get to meet him?
Yeah.
How did he, invest? What happened there?
Best story of my life. Mr. Tata happened to us after Series A. We had raised money from Kalari Capital. And we requested Vani कि एक meeting करा दो Mr. Tata के साथ. And a lot of people used to say कि क्या करोगे मिलके, because he will invest if it's a charity, if it's some kind of an NGO, you are cash back. Although I used to say, but we are also giving money back. It's not charity or anything, but still it's money back. And we've helped people save over 5,000 crores so far, so not a small amount. But anyway, somehow we got the meeting. We went to the Taj in Mumbai, and very interestingly, when you enter the Taj, सबसे पीछे जाओगे ना लिफ्ट में, you press C, it takes you to Mr. Tata's chambers. So I remember going into the lift and thinking, क्या मतलब anybody can go क्या? लेकिन you can't because they do enough checks on the way. But that's how you reach, and the minute you open, it's like a wooden panelled, beautiful place. So Mr. Tata was having his lunch, long table, and they told us you can go present here on the screen. So I was thinking, if I'm going to be standing here presenting and he's sitting here, we'll have no eye contact, and how will he know that I am dependable enough to invest in? So therefore, I need to be in a place where we can have a conversation. So I asked him, कि Mr. Tata, do you mind, sir, if we sit across from you, have a conversation, and उतना ही time लेंगे, but just get to know each other. He said, yeah, sure. And that was my first lesson, that if you don't actually ask, you will never get what you want. So we just assume sometimes the answer is no. And if I had assumed that time, I don't think we would have got Mr. Tata's investment, because हमारी वो conversation उतनी लंबी जाती ही नहीं. So we sat across, and I told him that, we told him about our business, and I also told him that my grandfather actually worked in Tata Steel first. So he'll be very happy that we are here today, and he agreed to give me a photo because of that reason. So वो सब करने के बाद, we spoke about the business and all. Then I asked him, sir, what do you think? And he said, in a country that loves to save money, you are giving back free money. What's there not to love? So even Mr. Tata knew that A, India likes savings, and B, India likes to get money back. And that's how we ended investing in our company. And I think it's such an honor because I don't know if in my lifetime I'll have another opportunity to share a cap table with Mr. Tata, but it has been an honor indeed.
Yeah, so I think what I wanted to check with you is that how do you get into financial planning? Did you, when you started your business, generally the business uses up a lot of cash, right? But how did you actually use to plan for the future so that you are actually able to kind of generate over a period of time? And what lessons can we actually derive from our own personal lives as well?
Yeah. Well, two things I'll say here is that at a business level, what we learned early on was actually the importance of financial planning and building an annual operating plan. Right. So having an annual plan for the business, you could translate that कि as an individual also you can think कि एक साल में हमें क्या क्या करना है, जिसके लिए plan करना है, अपनी savings, अपनी wealth and spending accordingly. But initially when somebody told me to make a financial plan, I was like, how do you even make it? Like क्या पता अभी क्या क्या करना है इस साल में, what factors come in or go, how do I make a plan, how do I project how much we will do. But the point is not that you can't know it all today, and that's okay. But the point is, are you spending some time thinking about what are you expecting? And what you're putting down on paper is, hey, this is my best case scenario, this is my worst case scenario. So what modeling taught me is to think through different scenarios and how does your wealth, your spending, your own money play out in each of those scenarios. And then you know that if this thing happens, I will actually run out of money. Right. Or if this thing happens, I will have a lot more to be able to invest back in something. So it's all of those things that, making an AOP taught us. It also taught us how to judge success. Like if, let's say, 6 months into the year, how do you know it's going well? Or, because kuch goal hoga, tabhi aapko pata lagega you are actually doing well or not. So to me, the takeaways into my personal life were having some financial goals, right? And then making some plans, having some best and worst case scenarios, and modeling out how does your wealth work out in that sense. And then also translating it to today. Like Rohan and I today, set aside a certain part of our income for investments and for, our own term planning as well. And that's just become discipline.
No, I think that's a great takeaway from that, because I think at the end of the day, it's the goals that matter, yes. And if you have sight of what your goals are, then you can actually think about how to, work towards it. And very importantly is the fact that you mentioned about uncertainty. You can make a plan, but everybody knows that the best of plans eventually you never come exactly to that point, right? There will be so many other things that would happen on the way. So it's important to make the scenarios. And I think you rightly pointed out the importance of modeling and seeing that what are the best case and what are the worst case scenarios. And that's where I think it's important to have the dependable part of it, which means that you may have certain worst case scenarios, but if there is something that is backing you up or something that is kind of ensuring that your future is protected, that's how you kind of make a robust plan, right? So I think that's a great takeaway.
We are big believers in insurance itself, by the way.
Right.
So like I have always invested in a good health insurance, good life insurance, good whatever insurances are there, even for the business, because that's the only way that you can have a fallback or a safety net on uncertainty, which can happen anytime in life.
Right. And I think life is so unpredictable, and your own journey is actually about that. So I think maybe I'll come to that a little bit. So while you were growing your business, and at that point of time you got impacted by health points. So tell us a little more about that and how that unpredictability came and how you managed it.
So actually, it started when I was in LSE itself. I went back to Ambala, I think first year ke baad chutiyon mein, just got a regular blood urine test done. And there was protein leakage in my urine, which showed that there's a kidney problem. And I think at that point, my parents were like, oh, like suddenly kya ho gaya na? Because it's like a young daughter studying in London, going to be all on her own. Now 50% of kidneys are not working. So what do you do at that point? So I said, nothing. Life continues, because हर एक की लाइफ में challenges आते हैं. ये मेरी लाइफ का है, ये प्रॉब्लम तो like बता के आ रही है, मुझे already पता लग गया कि ये प्रॉब्लम है, so I can figure out what to do. But I wasn't ready to give up any part of my life, neither my education nor my job or my career उसके बाद, because as you can see from our story so far, इतनी मुश्किल से तो मैं वहाँ पहुँची थी. I wasn't going to come back, So the first thing I did was get a health insurance because London mein reh ke, although London mein NHS is there, but I'm sorry, it's not that great, so still like I went through all of that system, but I needed my own fallback as well. So after that, I started work at Goldman. Fortunately, much better insurance provider over there, and that's how I manage all my medical expenses part of it. And otherwise, just manage the last 20 years with a good lifestyle, with whatever medicines I had to take. So about 2 years ago, in July 2022, I learned that I needed a kidney transplant because my kidney function was at 4-5%. My hemoglobin was 5.5. I was operating a nearly normal life. We were raising money as well for our business. It was our Series C round. So I used to go to investor pitches, go to the hospital, do my tests, multiple things happening in the same day. And fortunately, it all worked out well. We got the investor as well. We did our press release on like 4th November, Friday, and then Monday I checked into the hospital. I was there for 10 days, came back home a week later, started work from home. Fortunately, my mom was a good match, so she was my donor, and we had the transplant. It'll be 2 years in November.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's an amazing story, and I think it just brings to the fact that at the end of the day, it's about resilience and the fact that you have somebody dependable. So I think it brings us back to that
Yeah.
point that it's the resilience and the mental strength
Yeah.
that helps you through all of the unpredictabilities that life can throw at you. Because I think, I think entrepreneurship itself is so very unpredictable. There are so many more factors and so many dimensions which we don't kind of understand as part of being the corporate creatures that we are. But and to on top of it, to have a health unpredictability is an even bigger challenge. So I must say that it's amazing to hear of managing along with that. But I think that also brings us to the fact that it is important in such situations to have the dependence, somebody dependable behind you who can actually kind of
I
help you
think
in
that,
that.
you cannot control circumstances which happen in life. Things that happen to you, you can't control. You can control two things. One is your reaction to it. How do you respond in those situations? And B, what is the planning you have done for those situations?
Right.
So in my case, if I needed a kidney transplant, I needed to be mentally strong. And the fact that my mom was a donor is like the best thing that could happen, of course. And then the fact that financially I didn't need to worry about it because I always had my health insurance. So I think these two things were important.
Yeah, no, I think it's about all meeting the curveballs that life throws at you, and
Which will come.
which will come in everybody's life, and how you bat it well, right? That's all about it, right? Yeah. Speaking about planning for the future, and obviously there are big plans that you would have, and going forward about it. Have you given any thought to how you look at long-term plans or retirement plans? I know actually for an entrepreneur you never think about actually slowing down or anything about retirement, and which is a very conventional thing, right? I mean, today we don't think about retirement in a conventional sense. We all think about our second careers, about second innings,
Yeah,
about
no,
our
but that's a
third
great
innings
point
as well.
because retirement, सबको लगता है वो retirement तो 65 के बाद है. अभी तो time है. But it's not just that. It's also about what if at some point you stop enjoying what you're doing. What if some point you start thinking that, hey, I have one life. Can I do more? Can I do something else? And at that point, if you want to take certain calls but you can't because you have no savings to back you up for that period, then you can't actually retire early, or you can't even follow your passion. Or follow your dreams for that matter, because not all dreams pay well.
Right, I know. Yeah, so I think that's true that sometimes it's about your passion and what you would like to do versus what is actually paying the bills, and you're right, the conventional thinking about retirement has also changed. But I think what has not changed is the fact that you still need to plan and prepare for it, because I know a lot of people, and our research also shows that people think a lot about it, but not enough action is happening on the ground. We did a survey very recently where almost 70-80% of people said that they would like to be well prepared, and they know that there are challenges which they because our longevity is increasing, and there are many years to go, and people want to do much more in those years. But somehow they've never got down to planning it. So I think that's
It's
one of the
also
key
because how we
lessons.
are spending today. Sometimes we are spending on things that we don't need. There used to be a difference between desires and needs, but now desire looks like a need. So if desire looks like a need, you will end up spending more money and saving lesser. And then maybe in a few years later, you'll realize that actually didn't really need that thing. It was a desire, and desire also बहुत fleeting desire था, क्योंकि एक हफ्ते में उसका, your love for it was also over when you bought that thing. And so that's why while it's good to have EMI culture, buy now, pay later, all of that. But I think it's always good to say, hey, let me set aside some money for times when, I might needed it for whatever. It's possible that for some time you may not be able to work actually, and then what?
No, I think that's a very important point, because for a lot of people, including for entrepreneurs, you may need to pivot, you may need to move in a different direction. For people who work in corporates, everything is not certain, and things may change. A second life may come, a second innings may start, a third innings may start. So you do need to be prepared for a lot of that, and sometimes you need to curb that impulse to kind of make sure that you have planned for the longer period. And I think that planning is a little more complicated, but it can be done, and I think everybody can start working.
I would actually say to parents that, if your kid already has 3 toys, don't buy them 3 more. Put that money in actually that child education plan, because that is going to help them more in future. अभी हमारे घरों में खिलौने रखने की जगहें खत्म हो रही हैं, फिर भी the toys are coming. The value of that is going down. They get thrown and broken. But instead, if you actually invest that money into their future, they might thank you more.
Right. No, I think that's very much there, and I think it's very affordable as well. So it's the small savings and the power of compounding. I think there's a famous saying from Albert Einstein that the 8th wonder of the world is actually compound interest, right? Because if you actually keep going at it early enough, so if you start small and you start early, then the amount of corpus that can get created is actually exceptionally large. So you're very right that just a small saving happening every week or every month is actually enough to kind of create really large sums of money, which can actually help you meet very big goals.
In entrepreneurship, there's a very nice parallel on compounding. It is Atomic Habits by James Clear, this book, that says that if you do 1% every day, you are 37% better off in that whole year. And that is how every entrepreneur, every working professional is telling themselves that if I adopt a good habit, which could be savings or anything else, but if you adopt that good habit, do 1% better every day, end of the year, you are 37% better off. And of course, apply that to real money and it can grow a lot more.
Right. Yeah. So I'll just take a little bit of a change of topic here, Swati. So another area which I was, I'm quite passionate about, and we discussed that before as well, that we talk about women and financial literacy about among women, and I think that's something which we really feel strongly about, that everybody needs to understand how important it is to be financially literate. To be independent, to be able to understand money, to be able to understand what's required to plan, and particularly for women who are often on the disadvantaged side. They don't understand the importance of how much dependence on others can make life more difficult for them, right? So what are your thoughts about that, and what does it mean to you as a woman about financial literacy and financial dependence?
I think as a woman, I believe that other women should focus on both financial independence and financial literacy. They're both very important things, because it actually makes you more confident, it helps you get more respect, and it's just an essential today. I think that for whatever reason, let's say, if you cannot be financially independent because, let's say, you may not want to work, or you feel that this type ka work you want to do, it doesn't pay as well, or maybe you don't need to, and for whatever reason you don't want to, right? Financial independence, chalo, fir bhi understandable that not everybody wants to. I don't understand why everyone can't be financially literate. What is stopping us women from actually reading more about how a credit card works? How does an insurance policy work? What does it mean to invest money? Why do we always have to say, oh, this to my husband only deals with it, or ye unka hi kaam hai, ye unse hi pucho, ye wahi decide karenge. Why? And it's not because I come from a finance background. It's also because we are all in a household, either both husband and wife are earning, or if the husband is earning, then the wife is contributing in equally, important ways for, and therefore that money is still joint, right? So why don't you want to know where it's being invested, or why can't you have a say in what else can be done with it? Why does it have to be a boys only or a men only conversation?
Right, and
It doesn't need to be.
I think that's a very important point, and I think particularly in terms of the economic value that is being done by women in India and actually across the world is very often underestimated. So one of the things that we have found out is that the economic value of household work and the amount of support that actually gets done, even for a person who's a homemaker. And actually today there are so many women who are working professionals, and in every field women are actually equal or more in terms of what they're doing. But even homemakers are actually contributing a significant part to the economy, and this has conventionally been very less understood. But I think more recent research and studies have proved that this is the case, and that's also why it brings back to the fact that just like everybody needs to have a financial plan, the women of the house also need to have the adequate saving, the adequate insurance, and most importantly the understanding of how to manage money, how to move money, and that's really something which is basic for everybody these days.
And I really want to tell the women out there that ये इतना मुश्किल नहीं है जितना हमें लगता है. Very often I am in conversations where मुझे नहीं पता कि इसका क्या मतलब है, but I always just go back and Google it. And I read it for 5 minutes, and then next time I'm not as clueless. Next time I can actually ask a question which is relevant. And the minute you do that, the minute you start participating in discussions, people will involve you. Today they don't involve you because you're also not showing enough interest. So financial literacy has no excuse. We all have to be financially literate.
Yeah, I think and it's very important for all the members of the family, particularly the whether they're earning or they're not earning, to actually be covered, to be protected, because that's what gives the real peace of mind to the family, that you are actually
of course there's
insured.
no reason why the man of the house will have insurance and the woman won't.
That's right.
I mean, that won't even make sense.
That's right. So Swati, all through your journey there are obviously a number of people that you have depended upon, right? And these are the people who have anchored or who have kind of helped you or and have been the backup to your plan, right? As your milestones have gone ahead. So maybe you would like to kind of give us a little bit more about who are all the people whom you have depended upon, who are the people who have been the anchors in your journey.
बहुत सारे हैं, which is good because I think I'm lucky if I have so many people I can depend on.
You're on the Oscar stage, right? It's a thank you list.
Oh yes, thank you universe. Yeah, well, first, most dependable, of course, most to nahi khair, everyone has been most dependable, but it all starts with my husband Rohan, because during my last, I guess I've known him now for the last, we've been married 15 years, so maybe about 18, 19 years we've known. I don't think there's been a single day when he has disappointed me on the dependability quotient. I think I rate him very high there. And the same goes for our family as well. My mom, who gave me second birth, to my father, who's always come through, to my brother, my family, the in-laws. Actually, I always say that choosing Rohan was, of course, a decision that, we both made and I made. But having his family as a gift is the biggest bonus, because his family is so nice, and they've also, been those very, very dependable people for me. And then all my friends who have been through everything, from helping with applications at the start to, sharing everything, to checking up on me all through my transplant, and otherwise also every day. I mean, and my CashKaro team, we have 425 people, all super dependable, because they are the ones who have helped us reach this 4,000 crore GMV mark that we are at. Our investors, so many people. And I think I'm really lucky to have so many dependable people.
So so I think you would say that, that for all the promises that you have created all through your journey, I think there has been somewhere that you've found the right partners, the right people who you've been able to depend on. Right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, so I think that just brings out the fact that for each of the promises that we make throughout our life, you do need the right partners who can make sure that your promises are finally kept. A lot of times we realize that the people won't be here, but the
Yeah.
brand will be here. And so that's why we talk about ourselves as a promises ka partner. And
Yeah.
that's really something which we try to
Yeah.
give as the communication our customers and actually to everybody in our
Yeah.
ecosystem, that it's important to make the right promises and then actually find the partners who will
Yeah.
be standing behind to help you.
Actually, you're
make
right.
up
I
that.
think for insurance, for the medical fraternity, like all the medical staff, the doctors that have helped me, even insurance company as well, dependability has been a very important aspect to have come through on. And the fact that when you're going through a health thing, you just want to believe that, this person is dependable. They will have my back. So it's really important. There's a lot of faith. I think life is all about having the right faith. And if you can find partners who can deliver on the faith, then I think you just feel that good.
Wow, that's a lovely message, actually. I had just one more question to ask about. Now CashKaro, as you said, is a big company, right? And you still have almost 500 employees, and I'm sure it's growing, right? So when you talk about the people in your company and about their own needs, on financial planning or insurance as such. So how do they normally go about doing it? Do they have that understanding that there are solutions which are available where you as a corporate can kind of help your employees to do that? So is there some thinking around that? Because that's where I think providers like us can actually help in reaching out to a large number of people through corporates as well. So there are group schemes, for example, which we do.
Yeah, well, I mean, A, we must talk after this about that. And then, B, I think that, sometimes a lot of us, including me, and including a lot of entrepreneurs, including a lot of working professionals, हम लाइफ में सब कुछ प्रायोरिटाइज कर लेते हैं अपार्ट फ्रॉम आवर ओन फाइनेंशियल प्लानिंग. हमारे पास हर चीज़ के लिए टाइम है बट अपना फॉर्म भरने के लिए टाइम नहीं है. And that happens so often to us. And we say कि we work so hard to earn money. Why can't we, work a little more to save some of it? Saving money is the same as earning money. If you told me an opportunity today to earn an extra 25,000 rupees a month, I would do it. But why don't I put that extra effort to save 25,000 every month? Which would in effect be an earning only if I'm managing to keep it. So I think that working professionals first, we are all guilty of not actually giving enough time to things that can help us thinking कि कर लेंगे. या फिर पता नहीं क्यों हमें लगता है कि ये इम्पोर्टेंट नहीं है जबकि ये इम्पोर्टेंट है बिकॉज हम काम भी तो कर रहे हैं टू अर्न मनी सो आई थिंक समटाइम्स इट्स सच एन ऑब्वियस पॉइंट बट वी मिस इट. And therefore, as a company, what we try to do is to have enough sessions with our team members to make them aware of the options that exist for them, of the benefits that we are providing, of the partners like yourselves who are there that can help them save money. And you'll be surprised that, when actually people get educated, they do take the action. Because then they know, ki, okay, if I spend an extra 15 minutes filling up a form, I will end up doing something good for myself, which today I will actually spend in the next, buying the next iPhone or something.
Right. No, I think sometimes those forced savings are important because that's what creates the protection. That's what creates the well-being for the future. So it's delayed gratification.
And I think corporates should take it on them to actually provide that education.
Yeah.
Because if people are able to get more benefits and save more, then their salaries will also go further.
Yeah, and I think it's also a responsibility on us as providers, as insurance providers, to be able to kind of reach out and speak to more people, and create more awareness around it. Because I think the workplace is a great opportunity for us to meet and engage with people. And also there is this whole concept of the peer pressure. So if 10 people are doing it in the office, then very soon you find that 50 will be doing it. So that's also there. So yeah, I think it's a great opportunity, and sure, we'll be really happy to kind of do that for you. Yeah. So I think we have a lot of customers who are entrepreneurs or who are MSMEs, who are small businesses, who are startups. Some of them are looking for funding, some of them are already funded, but we have a large number of customers who are proprietors or joint venture partners into small businesses. It's a very significant part of our customer base. So knowing your entrepreneurship journey, what are the 5 things that you would like to say to all of the entrepreneurs out there who are on this journey, that what are the things that really help in getting the right leg up, getting the right funding, and how to grow?
So as per me, the 5 things that investors look for if they are looking to make a potential investment in a startup or an MSME, The first thing is what is the traction of the business right now? Because if you're looking to raise money at a seed stage, मतलब सिर्फ idea है, थोड़ा किया है, पूरा grow नहीं हुआ है, which won't apply for most of your customers anyway, and for most of the MSMEs as well. But then that's a different set of investors. Most investors are looking at what is the current traction of the business. There should be some traction to show. Secondly, a lot of investors see what are the precedents of success for this kind of a business model or business idea abroad. So if we show, for example, that cashback site we run in India, but then iska precedent बाकी जगह पे बहुत है. So in US, Ebates is $1 billion cashback site. In UK, the same. Singapore has Rakuten backed other sites as well, Shopback. Similarly, China has it. So can you show precedents of success internationally? That gives investors confidence कि अगर बाहर भी idea अच्छा चला है, chances are India में भी चलेगा. The third thing investors are seeing is how big can this business become? So are you addressing a problem that is going to be for a very niche population and therefore, it will only grow to a certain point and then stagnate? Or is it a problem like, which is nationwide? For example, online delivery, why is it so hot? Because, it can extend to different cities. Or if I'm doing food delivery or, like a Zomato or a Swiggy, then, that's how the market is very scalable. The fourth thing is, what are the unit metrics of the business? क्या ये business पैसा बनाता है? Or is it running on funding? Funding का money आया, वही marketing में गया, वही top line में चला गया, फिर और funding आया, and you're perpetually in a loss cycle. So if the unit metrics are such that, you will actually make money on every transaction, there will be a green bottom line the way our fathers have run businesses, then it makes sense to people. And the fifth very important aspect is what is the team like of the business? Because investors don't really, and rightly so I think, they find it hard to put money in a one-man show because there is too much, concentration and reliance on that one person. So therefore, if you have a team in place, especially a good leadership team, it increases your chances of getting funding because it means that A, you have so many experts with you, B, you are approaching different problems at different levels and experts are tackling it, and it's all not dependent on you.
So Swati, we've had such an insightful conversation, and now I think it's time to kind of lighten up things a bit, and maybe we'll have a little bit of a fun round now.
Okay.
So let's do a rapid fire round, right? Are you ready?
Yep, let's do it.
Okay. So describe yourself in one word.
Positive.
Okay. What's the one thing that has contributed the most to your success?
Luck and hard work.
Okay, that's two things, but I'll take it.
Thank you.
What's your best advice for young professionals?
Don't always be distracted. Learn to focus more.
Okay. What's your work-life balance mantra?
If I can be honest, I think it is to actually not pressure myself onto having a mantra because work-life balance is something you have to figure out every day based on how things are.
What's one money rule that you swear by?
Is to save every month in a disciplined and consistent manner.
Wow. I think that's the one mantra that I think we'll take away from it. So thank you, Swati, for the lovely answers to the rapid fire round. And that brings us to the end of our conversation. I'm sure a lot of people, especially young entrepreneurs and women, will have found a lot of value in what we discussed today, Swati. So many, many thanks for coming and meeting with us. And I'm sure this is really, really useful for a lot of people out there who will be listening to this. So Swati, as a token of appreciation from our side, from Canara HSBC Life Insurance to you, we have a little bit of something for you.
Thank you so much. That's so sweet. Oh my God. Can I open it?
Yeah.
I was super excited. Oh wow. That's beautiful. Canara HSBC Life Insurance celebrates Swati Bhargava for being a dependable promises ka partner. That's so sweet. Thank you so much. I indeed hope that I can be a good dependable promises ka partner for everyone who expects that out of me. Very nice.
I hope it's like your likeness.
It's beautiful. So this photo has a very special memory because we actually got Genelia D'Souza on board as a brand ambassador for CashKaro last year. So we took this during her shoot. And it was my first shoot after transplant as well when I was back to work, big time. So, and of course, CashKaro logo is there. So it's very special to me. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you for being with us. So before we wrap up completely, we have a special tradition here at Canara HSBC Life Insurance. Swati, we'd like you to sign one of our planters, and we have a dependability wall.
Oh, nice.
And so, your signed planter will now be on our dependability wall.
Okay.
So maybe let's go.
Yeah, let's do it.
So that's a wrap, folks. That was me in conversation with Swati Bhargava, co-founder of CashKaro.com. Very soon we'll be back with another episode and another guest on Depend on Insurance, Depend on Us.
Canara HSBC Life Insurance. Promises ka partner.